Dear Black people, part of the reason for our economic inequality is our spending habit, and this must change if we're ever to close this gap. You see, we need to go to work to make money, to pay ourselves, to then pay our bills. This goes against the norm, but I argue the norm is broke. By making yourself a priority, you begin the process of building your savings, investing your money, and being charitable. This process will eventually lead to financial independence and ultimately financial freedom. The main question, however, is how much should you pay yourself? Ultimately, you want to pay yourself 10% of your income, but the story doesn't stop there. I believe the 70-30 rule will get us to financial freedom. The 70-30 rule is where the objective is to live off of 70% of what you make after taxes, using the remaining 30% to fundamentally change your financial position. Of the 30% remaining, 1/3 goes to savings, 1/3 goes to investments, and the last third goes to charity or tithing. So let's look at a numerical example. So let's say you made $4,000 a month after taxes. Using the 70-30 rule, you would live off of $2,800 for the month. This would include all your bills as well as any discretionary spending. So think about going to the bar or going to get food or buying clothes or whatever you want to spend your money on. That would be part of the $2,800. Of the remaining $1,200, $400 would go to your savings, $400 would go to your investment account, and $400 would go to your charity or tithing, for example. Now, I'm well aware that it may not be possible for many of you to accomplish 10%, given the level of your expenses and the debt you've incurred over the last couple of years. In subsequent videos, we'll talk about the importance of budgeting and reducing your expenses. However, this doesn't let you off the hook. You may not be able to do 10% for each category, but maybe you can do 4, 4, and 2, or maybe 3%, 3%, 4%, or if you're in really bad shape, maybe 1% for each category. Regardless of your allocation, the point here is to build the discipline to pay yourself first and actively work towards your financial freedom. Just because you can't do 10% doesn't mean you shouldn't be working towards it. You ultimately need to start somewhere and build the discipline to do it. The hardest part about the 70-30 rule is the discipline, not the mathematics. Each bucket in the 70-30 rule has a purpose, and it's very critical that you understand the purpose of each and not deviate from it. Your savings bucket is where you preserve your wealth. The goal is to ultimately have 3 to 6 months of expenses fully saved up. In my opinion, given the economic uncertainty with Black people, you should have 6 months of expenses saved at a minimum. By saving this amount, you turn unexpected expenses into minor inconveniences. Think about a castle. One of the biggest defense mechanisms for a castle was the moat that was built around it. The bigger the moat, the less likely the enemy will be able to invade the castle. Well, the bigger the savings account, the less likely you'll be able to have economic difficulties when they arise. And arise they will. Your investment bucket is where you build your wealth. This is the money that you will use to buy, sell, fix, or manufacture. The investment category is very broad and can include stocks, bonds, real estate, private investments, starting a side business, whatever works for you. As Jim Rohn said many years ago, why not work full-time at your job and part-time on your fortune? This is where your investment bucket kicks in, as this is where your money makes you money. An important note here, never invest your savings. Your savings are there to protect you from unforeseen circumstances. And as I mentioned earlier, they will come. Never invest money you will need tomorrow or in an emergency. Your third bucket is charity. This is where you give back to those who are less fortunate than you. I'm a strong believer that you get what you give. And in that, it's our responsibility to make sure we provide for those who are in need. Though I am religious, this bucket is agnostic of religion for those of you who aren't. You can use this money to donate to things that are special to you. The key here is to use a portion of your money for the good of others. This isn't money that's used for a loan, and you should never expect it back. Its sole purpose is to help those who are less fortunate than you. So to sum up, I'll leave you a quote from Jim Rohn. Let me give you the difference between rich and poor. Poor people spend their money and save what is left. Rich people save their money and spend what's left. It's the same amount of money, just a different philosophy. The difference is not how much you make, but rather how you use what you make, because a part of all that you earn is yours to keep.